The human mind is conditioned to avoid the dark. It is conditioned to cling to the light, to chase pleasure, to seek comfort, to resist anything that resembles pain, fear, or shadow. Yet the paradox is this: the parts of you that you avoid are the very gateways to your freedom. Shadow work is not about glorifying pain. It is about recognizing that pain is never random. It is about understanding that your darkest moments are not interruptions to your path. They are your path. Every unhealed wound, every repressed emotion, every part of yourself you deny, does not disappear. It hides. It waits. It sinks into the subconscious, and from there it shapes your choices, your patterns, your relationships, your destiny. This is the truth many resist. What you refuse to face controls you. What you push away returns with greater force. What you call bad luck or misfortune is often your shadow knocking louder, asking to be acknowledged. The shadow is not your enemy. The shadow is your unintegrated self. It carries the fragments of you that were silenced, rejected, shamed, or abandoned. And when life feels darkest, it is usually because those fragments are rising to the surface, demanding your attention. Understand this: the universe wastes nothing, not even your suffering. Your darkest moment is never meaningless. It is a mirror. It is an initiation. It is a portal into the parts of yourself you cannot access through light alone. This is why shadow work is sacred. It is not about indulging negativity. It is about reclaiming wholeness. It is about bringing into awareness what you once disowned. It is about turning toward the very places you swore you would never look again. The ego resists this. The ego wants control. The ego wants to maintain the mask of perfection. But shadow work requires radical honesty. It requires the courage to admit, there are parts of me I do not yet understand. There are wounds I have not yet healed. There are truths I have not yet accepted. This honesty is not weakness. It is strength. It is the beginning of integration. Because you cannot transform what you will not face. Your shadow shows itself in many ways. It shows itself in your triggers, the things that provoke you more than they should. It shows itself in projection. The flaws you cannot stand in others are often the ones you have not faced in yourself. It shows itself in recurring patterns, the same painful story repeating in different forms until you learn its hidden lesson. This is the hidden gift of your darkest moments. They expose the unconscious. They strip away illusion. They pull to the surface the very patterns that quietly govern your life. And once exposed, you have a choice: to keep running, or to finally sit with the shadow until it dissolves into wisdom. Shadow work is not instant. It is not a one-time practice. It is an ongoing relationship with yourself. It asks you to pause when you want to run, to breathe when you want to fight, to listen when you want to judge. The universe will continue to send shadows your way until you learn this alchemy. That the darkness is not here to destroy you, but to refine you. Not to break you, but to break you open. And when you begin to see shadow this way, the fear shifts. The resistance softens. The avoidance ends. You realize that your darkest moment is not proof of your failure. It is proof of your initiation. Every shadow is a seed of light in disguise. Every wound is an unrecognized teacher. Every fall is a preparation for your rise. And so, the invitation is simple yet profound. Stop fearing the shadow. Stop labeling it as wrong. Stop treating it as the enemy. Turn toward it. Sit with it. Listen to it. Because inside your darkest moment lies the very gift you have been seeking all along. The greatest misunderstanding about shadow work is that it is about fixing what is broken. But nothing in you is broken. Nothing in you is wrong. What you call brokenness is unintegrated energy. What you call flaws are aspects of yourself that never received love. And what you call darkness is simply light that has been denied. Shadow work does not mean becoming someone new. It means becoming whole. It means remembering that every part of you, even the one you resist the most, has a purpose. The anger, the shame, the jealousy, the grief, they are not mistakes. They are messengers. They carry intelligence. They carry the keys to your growth. But here is the truth. Most people never stay with the shadow long enough to hear its message. They distract. They numb. They run to achievement, to addictions, to noise. They do everything possible to avoid stillness, because in stillness, the shadow whispers. And the whisper is uncomfortable. Yet avoidance is what keeps you trapped. The shadow you deny becomes the life you unconsciously create. The energy you resist turns into the patterns you repeat. And the very thing you fear the most becomes the very cycle you live again and again. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself in the same situation? Different faces, different places, same wound, same trigger, same outcome. This is not coincidence. This is shadow. This is the universe replaying the same lesson until you decide to listen. Shadow work asks you to pause in the middle of the cycle, to stop blaming the outside and turn inward, to ask, what is this moment revealing about me? Not as punishment, but as liberation. When anger rises, it is not telling you to explode. It is telling you that a boundary has been crossed. When jealousy arises, it is not telling you that you are less. It is pointing toward a desire you have not yet owned. When grief floods you, it is not telling you to drown. It is teaching you how deeply you love. The shadow is not an obstacle. It is a mirror. It reflects back the parts of you waiting to be seen. And the more you avoid the mirror, the sharper the reflection becomes. This is why your darkest moments feel overwhelming. They are mirrors so clear, you cannot escape your own reflection. And yet, if you can look without judgment, something extraordinary happens. The shadow dissolves. The energy once trapped in denial returns as clarity, as strength, as creativity, as love. But this is not possible without surrender. Shadow work is the art of surrendering to what you feel without letting it define you. It is sitting in the fire of your emotions without trying to put it out too quickly. Because when you sit in the fire, you realize the fire was never here to burn you. It was here to purify you. This purification is not comfortable. It will demand that you see truths you avoided for years. It will reveal attachments, identities, and illusions that you clung to for safety. It will show you where you betrayed yourself to be accepted. It will show you where you silenced your truth to fit in. And it will show you the masks you wore so long, you forgot your real face. But the beauty of shadow work is this. Once you see clearly, you cannot go back. Once you taste authenticity, falsehood loses its grip. Once you feel the power of integration, you will never again seek wholeness outside of yourself. The shadow is not darkness for the sake of darkness. It is the womb of transformation. It is the soil where the seed cracks open. It is the cocoon where the caterpillar dissolves into nothing before it becomes a butterfly. In your darkest moment, you may feel like everything is falling apart. But in truth, you are dissolving into possibility. The old structure is dying because a new version of you is waiting to be born. Do not confuse collapse with failure. Collapse is a necessary stage of rebirth. When the ego collapses, the authentic self rises. When the mask falls, the real face emerges. When the shadow is embraced, the light expands. The hidden gift of shadow work is not that it makes life easier. It is that it makes you real. It strips away illusion. It breaks your addiction to perfection. It frees you from the exhausting performance of pretending to be only light. Because the truth is this: light without shadow is incomplete. Wholeness is not about rejecting the night. It is about embracing both sunrise and sunset. It is about realizing that the same hand that paints the stars also carves the valleys. That the same universe that brings you joy will also bring you lessons wrapped in pain. Shadow work is about meeting life as it is. Not as you wish it to be. Not as you pretend it to be. But as it truly is, messy, raw, honest, real. And from that meeting, transformation happens. Not because you force it, but because truth always heals when it is finally allowed to surface. So the question is not, how do I get rid of my shadow? The question is, am I willing to see it, feel it, and love it into wholeness? Because only then does the hidden gift appear. Only then does the darkness reveal the light it was guarding all along. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It shows up in the exact form you resist the most, because resistance is where your energy is trapped. Every unacknowledged emotion becomes a wall inside you. Every denied truth becomes a chain around you. Shadow work is the act of loosening those chains, not by fighting them, but by seeing them. Awareness is liberation. When you see the shadow clearly, it loses its power to control you unconsciously. You begin to recognize that the behaviors, triggers, and patterns that once defined you are not permanent. They are programs. They are responses conditioned by pain. And what has been conditioned can be unconditioned. The shadow reveals the blueprint of your conditioning. It shows you where you learned to hide. It shows you the moments when your authentic self was too much for the world. The times you were told, don't cry. Don't be angry. Don't be sensitive. Don't be yourself. Each don't became a fracture. Each don't became a shadow. And now, as an adult, those fractures replay themselves in subtle ways. You silence yourself in conversations. You shrink when opportunities arise. You sabotage relationships before they deepen. Not because you want to suffer, but because suffering feels familiar. The shadow convinces you that it is safer to live in old wounds than to risk new freedom. But here lies the paradox. The very thing you avoid is the gateway to liberation. Your triggers are not accidents. They are invitations. Each time something pierces you, it is pointing to an old wound ready to be healed. Each uncomfortable emotion is not punishment, but guidance. Shadow work means choosing to answer those invitations instead of running from them. It means sitting with discomfort until it reveals its root. And it means meeting that root with compassion instead of judgment. Compassion is the alchemy. Without compassion, shadow work becomes self-punishment. You dig into your wounds only to condemn yourself for having them. But with compassion, the digging becomes healing. You see that the part of you that lashes out, hides, or resists is not evil. It is hurting. And hurt does not need rejection. It needs care. This is why shadow work is often the hardest inner practice. Because it asks you to love the parts of yourself you were taught to hate. It asks you to embrace the voices inside that others told you to silence. It asks you to see beauty in the brokenness, not by romanticizing it, but by realizing it was never broken at all. The gift inside shadow work is integration. Integration means no part of you is abandoned. No part of you is exiled. All aspects are welcomed back into wholeness. The angry self, once shamed, becomes the protector of your boundaries. The jealous self, once suppressed, becomes the compass of your hidden desires. The fearful self, once ridiculed, becomes the guardian of your wisdom. Every shadow, when loved, transforms into a strength. And as this integration deepens, your energy becomes coherent. You are no longer fragmented. You are no longer at war with yourself. You move through life with a grounded clarity because nothing within you is being denied. This is the true power of shadow work. It collapses the distance between who you think you should be and who you actually are. It dissolves the exhausting performance of perfection. It allows you to show up in relationships authentically, no longer wearing masks. And it aligns you with the universe, because the universe mirrors wholeness, not suppression. When you deny your shadow, life denies you clarity. When you embrace your shadow, life embraces you with expansion. Because the external world reflects your internal integration. This is why your darkest moments contain the hidden gift. Because darkness demands honesty. When you are stripped of comfort, you are forced to see what is real. And what is real is the self you have been running from. Shadow work is the courage to stop running. To turn toward the darkness and say, I will no longer abandon you. And in that moment, the shadow softens. It reveals that it was never here to destroy you. It was here to return you to yourself. Integration is freedom. It does not mean you will never feel pain again. It means pain no longer controls you. It no longer defines your identity. It no longer dictates your choices. Instead, pain becomes part of the tapestry of your being. It weaves together with joy, love, and presence. It becomes a depth you carry, a wisdom you embody, a resonance that others feel when they are near you. This is why those who do shadow work become magnetic. Not because they are perfect, but because they are whole. People feel safe around wholeness. They feel permission to be themselves around authenticity. And that permission is one of the greatest gifts you can offer the world. So shadow work is not just about you. It is about the collective. Each time you integrate your darkness, you reduce the unconscious projection of that darkness onto others. You stop passing down unhealed wounds through relationships, families, and generations. You end cycles not only for yourself, but for those who come after you. The hidden gift of shadow work is not just personal liberation, it is collective healing. Because as you embrace your own shadow, you make space for others to do the same. Your wholeness becomes an invitation for their wholeness. And in this way, the integration of one becomes the integration of many. This is the silent revolution of shadow work. It is not loud. It does not announce itself. It moves quietly, like roots growing underground. But one day, those roots become a forest. And that forest changes the landscape of everything. Shadow work is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong process. Because every stage of growth brings new shadows to light. Each time you expand, a deeper layer of the unconscious rises for integration. This is not regression, it is evolution. It means you are ready for more wholeness. Think of it like peeling an onion. Each layer removed reveals another underneath. Some layers sting. Some make you cry. But with each one, you get closer to the core. And the core is not darkness. It is light. It is the pure essence of who you are, untouched, unbroken, whole. The mistake many make is thinking shadow work is about endlessly digging in pain. It is not about glorifying wounds or drowning in suffering. It is about moving through the darkness with awareness, so that you emerge lighter, freer, clearer. The purpose of shadow work is not to stay in the shadows, but to release the treasures hidden within them. This is why the shadow is called the hidden gift. It hides the parts of yourself that hold the greatest potential for transformation. And when you unlock those parts, you expand your consciousness. You awaken capacities you didn't know you had. You reclaim energy that was once bound in suppression. Every shadow integrated becomes pure power. Not the kind of power that dominates, but the kind of power that liberates. A quiet strength. A steady presence. A knowing that nothing inside you needs to be feared. When you reach this place, life itself begins to shift. Because life is always responding to your inner state. As long as you are at war with yourself, life mirrors conflict. When you make peace with yourself, life mirrors harmony. When you integrate your shadow, the universe opens doors that once seemed locked. Relationships transform. Because you no longer seek validation by hiding who you are. You no longer project your wounds onto others. Instead, you meet people as equals, whole meeting whole. Work transforms. Because your creativity is no longer blocked by self-doubt or fear of judgment. You are free to express, innovate, and build without the weight of perfectionism. Even your relationship with the universe transforms. Because the shadow is not separate from the divine. The divine is in everything, including the parts of you you once rejected. When you see that, surrender becomes natural. Trust becomes effortless. You stop needing to control everything, because you know that wholeness does not depend on outcomes. It is already within you. Shadow work is not glamorous. It is not always comfortable. But it is sacred, because it restores you to your truth. It reveals that even in your darkest moments, you were never broken. You were being invited to remember your wholeness. The hidden gift is this. Your shadow is proof of your light. Without light, there can be no shadow. The very existence of shadow within you means that at your core, you are radiant. And every time you embrace your shadow, you reclaim more of that radiance. In the end, shadow work is the path back home. Not to an idealized version of yourself. Not to the self you think you should be. But to the self you truly are. The self that is whole. The self that is free. The self that has always been waiting for you in the depths of your own being. This is the gift in your darkest moments. They are not punishments. They are thresholds. They are openings. They are the universe whispering, "Go deeper. Find yourself. Come home." And when you step through that threshold, when you finally embrace the shadow, you do not just heal. You awaken. You remember. And you embody the truth that your darkness was never your downfall. It was your greatest guide.